Guys, good Friday morning. It's Jerry Miller. Welcome to Real Talk. It's a pleasure to be with you in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Central Virginia, and across the world here on the I Love Seaville Network. Crozet, Virginia in the spotlight. Today on Real Talk, we're going to talk about the market, the future, where the population is heading, the lumberyard project that undoubtedly will determine a lot of the heart of Crozet. And how the community responds to that. A lot we're going to cover with Greg Slater and Jim Duncan on the program. They will join us momentarily. Of course, Real Talk powered by the YES Team. The YES Team, Keith and Jonas Smith, they are doing big-time things from a real estate standpoint. Also, Charlottesville Settlement Company, welcome to the program. Charlottesville Settlement Company, undoubtedly a trusted partner in the real estate business. Again, I'm Jerry Miller. Keith and Jonas Smith on vacation. Harris Tolber is our director. Harris, I would like to go to the studio cam and welcome the gentleman to the program. You have the Jim Duncan. This guy knows Crozet inside and out. This guy is a Twitter rock star. This guy is, you will see him undoubtedly on a bicycle around Albemarle County of some capacity. We have an entrepreneur here in Greg Slater with 2 associate brokers. He's a partner with Nest Realty. This gentleman owns the Creamery in Crozet, one of the co-owners of the Creamery.
That's right.
And guys, we're going to talk real estate. Welcome John Hill to the program in Richmond. Cynthia Viejo is watching right now, one of your colleagues at Nest. Bob Shada, Lauren Linsky, Robin Morris, roughly 2,000 people watching right now. Let's start with you. Open-ended question, no rules. Jump in anytime you want. Crozet, Virginia, the Crozet real estate market, open-ended question. Anywhere you want to go.
Great. Well, you know, first and foremost, I live there, and I've chosen to raise my family there. We've been there about 10 years, and we've become very fond of it. So it's helpful to me when people are interested in learning more about it to tell it through that lens. Crozet is popular for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, I think it starts in the real estate conversation around those schools. We know schools are important to real estate values, and that Western feeder, you know, the quality of those schools as it's perceived online and as they're rated online attracts people there. And then not just the quality, but the proximity of the community around those schools can be logistically a game changer for people's daily lives. But other than that, you know, the community is about 9,000 people now. It's growing. It was a part of the growth area. That's why the houses are being built there. Right. When builders are building new product, it tends to attract people as well. But the quality of life is high from my vantage point. The scenery is nice. The people are nice. Caused a lot of nice relationships with my neighbors in that community.
Let's sizzle reel that. Let's get Jim Duncan involved. Kay Slater says you beat me to it. I was going to say you forgot to take out the trash right now. She just left that comment.
That was deliberate.
On the stream right now. Jessica and Robert Russo, welcome to the program. Jim Duncan, Crozet Market, show is yours, my friend.
I mean, I think we moved to Crozet about 15 years ago from the urban ring of the county, about 10, 12 minutes from the city then. And we've been there for 15, 16 years. And it's something that, again, the community in Crozet is something that, you know, you can find other places, I'm sure, but it's the one that I know. And I coached both my daughters in soccer for about 15 years, 16 years total. So it gave me the opportunity to be to forge a lot of relationships with the kids and the parents, and be in Crozet from that perspective. And it's something that it's fun seeing my older daughter is almost 25, and now I see her peers coming back, and they're full bore adults, and they're, hey coach, how are you? And it's cool to see that environment of being able to meet these kids as they grow up. And my almost 15 she is 15. My 15-year-old daughter as well, you know, seeing her peer group as they've grown up, and we, you know, choose to stay in Crozet.
Mary Beth Bowen says Greg Slater has the best neighbors. Is she one of your neighbors?
She lives next door. Okay. If you go online to Nest Realty and watch the Old Trail video, she's the opening comments.
I love it. I love it. Let's take Jim Duncan's answer into a sizzle reel, please. You have a 25-year-old daughter. You're aging extremely well.
Thank you. I had a client who told me last week that she thought she said, you're 43? I'm like, I thought you were 37. I said, oh, thank you so much.
I swear to God, I thought you were like about 38, 40 years old.
Yep.
All right, let's talk. I'm going to throw this to you here. Old Trail. catches a lot of positive attention in Crozet. I love going to Old Trail, love going to the golf club, love sitting having a cold beverage out on the veranda or the patio of the golf club, taking in the Blue Ridge Mountains, love enjoying the restaurants, love going to Piedmont Place, love going to Smoke, love going to your creamery. The amenities, since I first arrived in 2000 to attend the University of Virginia, have improved dramatically in Crozet. We were talking off air. I remember when I was, 18, 19 with my fake ID going in Uncle Charlie's and having a good time. Okay, now you go there, it's a mud house. You got Star Hill doing some big time things. Of course, Crozet Pizza. I mean, when you talk Crozet and you talk the improved amenities and you talk Old Trail and you talk the Harris Teeters and the Piedmont Places, that's certainly helping drive the market.
Yeah, it has everything you need from a daily standpoint now. People who are looking at the entire area and trying to figure out Crozet often think about it as a long way from Charlottesville. Matter of fact, before I lived out there, I used to talk to people about it being a long way from Charlottesville, and now I try to talk people into living out there. I think one thing people miss about your daily life is Waynesboro is just as close in the other direction. So not everybody that lives in Crozet takes those trips to Charlottesville every day. Of course, if you work in Charlottesville, you're going to take those trips. You have a couple of ways to get there, and you find out which commute is best for you. But when I talk about Crozet, I like to tell people when they're trying to figure out what they want to live close to when they're moving here, to live where they want to be on Saturday morning. You can walk to a lot of things from a community like Old Trail or things. Crozet's developed since when Jim and I got to Crozet. Jarman's Gap was a rural road.
It was a scary ride.
It was a scary road
to ride a bike on.
But as part of the plan, that is now sidewalk lined on both sides and has bike lanes. And to change that made to what it felt like living on that side of Crozet was dramatic. We like to think at the creamery in the summertime, half of our business arrives on foot and doesn't take a car.
That's awesome.
It is fantastic. And it's the bicycle rides and the families trying to find time away from their screens to do something together.
Dan Barnes, welcome to the show, Albemarle County. We got a message for you and a guy having a little fun, poking a little fun right here. This is good. Jonathan Galassa, welcome to the program. Mr. Mitchell says, Jim, sit up a little straighter, please. David Gregory Mitchell over there. Do you know David Gregory Mitchell over there?
I do.
Say something to David Gregory
They're both
Mitchell.
VMI guys.
There's nothing I can say on air that would be valid. Hi, Dave. Great to see you. He and I went to VMI together many years ago.
Jayon Facili also watching as well. Grace Meja in Richmond. Keely Kitchens is watching in Georgia. Jessica Russo, thank you for tuning in. Let me throw this to you here. The Old Trail niche, the Old Trail ecosystem. Old Trail seems to be a little town within Crozet.
That's the goal. I mean, the goal with Old Trail is to be a town within Crozet and yet still be part of the entirety of Crozet. They're building how many more? 3 more commercial centers at least.
That's right. The commercial's only about 30% developed.
Yeah, and the neighborhood itself still has quite a ways to go. They have 200 apartments that are coming to Old Trail, 200 apartments coming off Jarman's Gap. So the town of Crozet, the town or village of Old Trail, still has quite a ways to go. I think that you talk to people who live in either one, Crozet or Old Trail, the community is something that it attracts them. I ride my bike through Old Trail almost every morning at 6:05, and the number of people who are outside walking their dogs, walking their kids, running, jogging, what have you, it's exceptional. So I think it's something that one of the back to your point about what draws people to Crozet, it's a remarkably well-positioned town to be outside. I mean, you have people who live that lifestyle of running, jogging, hiking on Blue Ridge Parkway, Skyline Drive, et cetera. You're 15 minutes away from remarkable assets in our area.
400 additional apartments on the horizon?
Within the next 9-15 months.
We think the market can accommodate 400 additional apartments?
I think we'll see.
Yeah.
So you're a little skeptical?
I am always skeptical.
Me too.
I think that the number of people who choose to live in Crozet and commute to Charlottesville is significant. But I think as the lumberyard does develop and as Old Trail develops and the businesses there and downtown continues to grow, there will be more people who choose to not buy but choose to rent a nice apartment for a year or 2 or 3.
Your thoughts on
I
that?
tend to trust, I see apartments complex go up all over the place, and I'm always wondering where that demand's going to come from, and they always end up full. I was at a housing conference recently that one of the speakers spoke about what our market is missing is 1- and 2-bedroom homes. You know, we have a lot of 1, 2, and 3 member families living in 3, 4, and 5 bedroom homes. And
Right.
I think there'll be demand for the best example I can give you is a couple of years ago, a developer built 4 of the smaller townhomes in Old Trail, and they were 1 and 2 bedroom, and they planned to keep them all as rentals. And they said, Greg, why don't you list one of them, see if you could see how the sales market is versus the rental market.
Right.
I sold 7, they rented 1. And 4 of them were 900 square foot, 1 bedroom townhomes that went first. And there had never been a product like that in Old Trail before. And so, yeah, I think you never know how deep the demand is, but I think there's demand there, and they're obviously going to try to capture it.
Sonia McGarv says bonjour. Hello.
Oh, bonjour, Sonia.
Giving you some props right now. Give the show a like and a share. Michael Jameson in Charlottesville, welcome to the program. Jeremy Stanwyck in D.C., hello. Thank you kindly for joining us. Let me throw this to you here. So 400 apartments on the horizon. Mm-hmm. We were spitballing off air about this. Say 1,400 to 1,500, the entry point for a 1-bedroom. 3 bedrooms will go higher. Who are what is the demand, the type of renter or tenant that's taking this type of product? Throw it to you, Jim.
I mean, I think that that tenant is somebody who doesn't want to buy. I mean, to be simple and blunt, I mean, people who come in and they don't know where they want to be. You know, I think that renting brings significant mobility, where someone comes in for a position that they don't know if it's going to be 1, 2, 4 years, and they don't want to purchase a home for $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, and they want that ability to say, I don't like this job, and move on to where they truly want to be.
Are you seeing that as primarily millennials?
I see it as primarily anybody who wants to live in a house. I mean, I think that tagging things to generational shifts is not as appropriate as it may have been a number of years ago. I mean, I'm talking people who are millennials, but also Gen X and Y, and I mean anybody of any age who's looking for a career in the Charlottesville Alabama area. They want to come in and know if they're going to stay. I mean, when I'm representing buyers who move to the area, particularly the ones who are cold, I advise that they rent for at least a year to figure out those life patterns, because it's much easier to get a new rental than it is to sell that house in under 2 years.
What are you thinking, Greg?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of things that will feed into that demand for those apartments. You know, we just scratched the surface on a concept in Old Trail that we had tried in some other communities, and that's the ADU, the Affordable Dwelling Unit. It's pretty popular right now. If you can afford to own your home and then rent the space over your detached garage, or what we call a carriage house. For example, it started in Belvedere, and this is one of the ways the county is addressing affordable housing by creating affordable rentals. So this concept started in Belvedere, and it caught on fast. I mean, if you can have someone leave you $900 in your mailbox every month that lives over your garage and you never see them, that changes the economics of home ownership if you choose to use that money in that way. So we just started doing that in, a lot of people don't understand this, but from the swimming pool in Old Trail to 250 was all rezoned to be created, and it had proffers that required the creation of affordable housing.
What specific proffers?
Well, it started with, 15% was the most common proffer in the decade that Old Trail was developed. Now, those proffers had some loopholes. For example, those smaller townhomes that were built for sale started as a developer and a builder marketing them on paper, and they had to run out the clock for 30 or 60 days, and if no one showed up, then they could do whatever they wanted to. So no for sale affordable housing, proffered affordable housing has ever been built in Old Trail. So in the newer sections, they subdivide and create Old Trail block by block. So they try to respond to the demand in the marketplace and create the product it needs. And so everything what we call the East Village up front, which would be on your right before the town center coming in, has the opportunity to have a legal ADU over the garage or in the basement. Mm-hmm. And so we've created about a dozen of these now, and it takes about 10 minutes to rent a 400 to 500 square foot apartment for $900 to $1,000.
John Updike, welcome to the show. Abby Inman's giving you props. Welcome to the
Abby.
program. Michelle Algieri, hello. Thank you for joining us. Roger Malak says hello.
It's good to hear those names.
Yeah, I'll give the show a like and a share on any of the 7 streams you're watching on the I Love Seville network. I'm going to get out of the way. James Watson, hello. I'm going to throw the lumberyard. Let's table the lumberyard project for a second. Initially, and you guys know more about this than I do, I'm learning from you guys. Initially, I saw the community blossom and growing because people wanted to get away potentially from the hustle and bustle of Charlottesville. Mm-hmm. Maybe they wanted the intimacy of a smaller community. The schools, Western Albemarle Schools, I mean, Harris Tolber, our director, is a product of that. He's a brilliant guy. Schools, certainly an attraction. how is the mindset changing with buyers moving to Crozet outside of what it was maybe, say, 15 years ago or so?
I mean, it's a great question. I think that one of the things that I think through each of our lenses that we try to do is that we try to bolster and build the community. People come to Crozet because they want to be part of a community. Years ago, someone said that the Crozet market, former Great Value, former IGA, was one of the only places that kids could go to get in trouble. And you go in, one of the guys there said, one of the cashiers, so 2 boys walked in, 12, 13-year-old boys, got a box of matches and some lighter fluid. He said, I'm going to call his mom. I think that's one of the things that they want. People want to be in a community where they know their neighbor, they can walk to the grocery store, and they can see 3 friends. I think that as the community shifts and grows, that hallmark of community is staying the same because people want that. They want their kids to the number of kids who have played baseball at Crozet Park under the lights is remarkable. I mean, I walk the park and I run the park. I ride the park, ride my bike there, and it is astonishing the number of people who choose to stay in Crozet.
They just turned those lights on this year, by the way. That was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Having coached at Peachtree since my son was in T-ball all the way through, aging out of that the youth sports in Crozet, whether it's baseball or other sports, it's fantastic. One of the things I think has changed in the last 15 years, a lot of people choose to live in Crozet because of the quality of life for their family, setting aside the impact it might have on their professional commute or otherwise. Well, telecommuting took a big chunk of that away, right? A lot of people choose to live in Charlottesville, for that matter, that do their jobs all over the country and all over the world. But I have friends that are professors at JMU that live in Old Trail and Crozet, and they're willing to take that 1-hour drive to school or to Harrisonburg, but they want their families in Crozet. And that, to me, has always spoke volumes about the quality of life there.
That's a sizzle reel. My question to Jim's answer, and Greg's answer there, that was fantastic. Brian Combs of Pro Renata Brewery watching the program. Olivia Branch, welcome to the show. Grace Maja is watching in Richmond right now. Let me throw the population statistic that you threw my way, and I found it startling. I think the number, and correct me if I'm wrong, was 18 to 36,000.
Right.
Population increase over what time frame?
Future. I mean, it depends on the market. I mean,
Okay.
it depends on the market activity.
Okay.
I think that realistically, the population of Crozet is probably about 9,000 now. When I moved there 15 years ago, it was closer to 5,500 or 6. I think that in the next 15, 25 years, you're going to see it probably double in size.
Does that terrify you?
It depends.
Catch-22?
Depends on my perspective. As an agent,
Good for the agent.
It is, so long as we're able to maintain the community and the quality of life. So I think that more people in Crozet is going to bring more amenities and more stuff. People choose to live in Crozet now because it's close to stuff. It's close to Sal's, Crozet Pizza, Star Hill, and Piedmont Place, the Creamery, stuff in Old Trail. I think that Crozet allows you to live a lifestyle where you can get anywhere on bike in under 10 minutes. So I think that's a remarkable asset for a community.
David Cathcart, welcome to the show. I didn't mean to interrupt there.
That's fine, man. I think that as we grow, we certainly do have some challenges that we're trying to address. Schools, infrastructure, roads, et cetera. But hopefully we'll be able to get past that stuff as we grow and the county recognizes the need for this sort of thing.
It doesn't terrify me,
Not the road piece?
Well, everybody. Look, I'm a small-town boy. Richmond was too big for me. Charlottesville's fine. Crozet is great. People complain about the traffic at the four-way stop in downtown Crozet, and I'm like, come on, this is not 29 North. Right. You gotta have some perspective.
Or Northern Virginia.
People don't want to live on Old Trail Drive. Well, yeah, it's the busiest road in Old Trail, but it's still not that busy of a road.
Right. It's relative.
It's all relative, but look, the plan was for Crozet to grow like it is. It's in the growth area. It's very clearly defined by the triangle created by 240 and 250 and how it connects. So you have to know that everything in there is subject to be rezoned and developed at some point, if it makes sense. The example I'll give you, though, I think there's more common sense going into managing it and trying to prevent it from becoming a bad example we've learned in other markets and heard about. You take Old Trail, for example. They had a minimum number of homes or residences they had to create in their original rezoning. Over time, it was downzoned. They realized there was a level of a density that was unattractive to the marketplace and wasn't helping people understand what it was all about, and they were backing off from it. So I've seen sections of Old change and have their lots made bigger, and we've seen the overall target for the number of homes that they have to achieve go down. So there's some common sense there. So I'd like to think we can manage through all this, and the market will sort itself out. And, doing this as long as I've been a part of a lot of communities from start to finish, right? The first home sale to the last home sale, and what has happened to them and the evolution of those homes and how things have changed around them. And I think it's going to be okay.
Brian Combs is giving you props.
Hey, Brian.
You sold his home.
I did.
Brian Combs says, Jim Duncan, stand-up guy. He sold my awesome house. What's up, Jim? Thank you for watching the show. Brian Combs, give it a like, give it a share. Lumberyard project. I mean, it's been in the works for a long time.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I think that it's something that, as we're talking off air, I think it's going to be a game changer for Crozet.
Will you give set the tone, the background?
It was and still is the heart of Crozet. It was the Barnes Lumberyard for 80, 90 years, something like that, and it sold 5 or 6 years ago. And Milestone Partners bought it at the sale. And they've been working for years to try to develop the right vision of what the lumberyard should be. So it started out, I think the plan has evolved. They're in hopefully the final phases of doing listening sessions, if you will. I think they had 30 or 40 people at the meeting last week. They had another one this week as well, where they're trying to they've been doing an exceptional job of bringing the community into the conversation to ascertain what they want. And it's going to be, the lumberyard is going to be residential and commercial. It's going to be a mix of those two things. I think the residential may be the first part. But I think that their goal is to bring in a number of businesses and a number of residents. It's going to be an interconnected part of Crozet. That's going to connect Western Ridge and Foothill Crossing to downtown Crozet, and it's going to bring more people to that heart.
What are you thinking?
I agree. I tell people when I'm I like to give people a tour of Crozet. I tell them in about 90 minutes I can give them an MBA in Crozet, so they kind of understand enough about it to know if that's the side of town they want to live on. But inevitably when we go into the heart of downtown Crozet, we talk about that as the most important piece of real estate on the table to be developed, because there's a lot of excitement around it. There's those 9,000 people aren't just the people patronizing the businesses in Crozet. Crozet is a bit of a destination these days. I mean, going to get dinner at Smoked and ice cream at the Crozet Creamery is a wonderful day trip.
Shameless.
I had to do it
appreciate
once.
that.
But, and then when you talk about all the activity up 151 in Nelson County, anyway, it's a destination, whether it's King Family Vineyards and the people that come out for Wine Wednesdays and
Polo
the
on
polo
Sunday.
matches.
First polo on Sunday.
So there's a lot going on there. And so to Frank Stoner's credit, I think he's worked very hard to get a tremendous amount of input to really respond to what the market wants. So, I think the residential comes first because that's easier.
Right.
And then that, everybody has this image of a outdoor mini downtown mall type environment, which I think is a perfect fit to have spaces people can hang out and shop or eat or spend family
it's
time.
Be, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see if there's a pavilion down there for music and things like that. I think there are going to be more restaurants, more services. Hopefully, a significant employer could make it to downtown Crozet, but who knows what's going to happen. But I think the lumberyard is going to be, again, I think in my perfect world, it's going to draw people out of their cars. And they're going to choose to walk or ride bikes to downtown Crozet and live that lifestyle. Where there are days in Crozet where I work and I don't have to get in my car. I can ride my bike from my house to my office or mud house and then go to the grocery store and get a sandwich. And when my kids were younger, I'd ride my bike to Crozet Elementary to pick them up. So the lifestyle that Crozet affords is something that you really can't get in many other places in the area.
Nicole Scrow watching. We know her from Twitter. Everett Anderson, Pepsi Cola Bottling in Central Virginia, watching the program now. Give it a like, give it a share. John Updike, welcome to the show. Roy Wheeler, Andrew, and I'm going to need some help on this name here.
Markopoulos.
Nope. Andrew Morsink.
Morsink.
Might
Family
as well
member.
Plug K Slater Yoga too, Greg.
Oh, there you go.
That was funny.
A relative from Ohio.
That was funny right there. All right, well, let me throw this to you here. And I'm a huge fan of, invest in real estate. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of strategic growth.
Right.
Not urban sprawl. I
Right.
don't want it to turn into Fredericksburg. Strategic growth. A 23-acre parcel that's in the heart of Crozet that's, I'm going to cut to the chase, being underutilized and has tremendous potential. From my standpoint, needs to have the county, Albemarle County, and its board of supervisors and the county in totality rolling up its sleeves, put in some sweat equity, put in some vision into it, and making something special happen with these 23 acres.
Right.
I'm going to just throw it at that. You go anywhere you want.
I suspect that that's been happening. I think that Ann Malik has been heavily invested in Crozet and for many years, and she's been working diligently with Frank and the community to put the right product together. So I think that a lot of stuff that a lot of stuff that happens within the county happens in those meetings. So I think that if you spend some time getting involved in the county, you're going to learn about what's happening with that. So I think that they are very well aware of the needs of the former lumberyard and downtown Crozet.
As a matter of fact, the first person that said hi to me, my neighbor Mary Beth Bowen, she's with Hive Creative Group, and Frank Stoner actually hired her to organize the meetings and set up the process to cause the collaboration to bring the county and the community together on this topic. At one point, I went to a meeting where they hired 3 architects, or maybe those architects donated their time, I don't remember, but they put everybody in groups, and those architects, with the feedback from the people who participated, created 3 visions.
Right.
And I think you can still see all 3 of them online if you do a little research, but ultimately they chose one. But it was an extensive collaborative effort.
I would think, and just playing devil's advocate, spitballing with you guys, maybe some of the concerns are if we turn this into a downtown mall corridor, where it's like a live, work, play potential, restaurants, music, retail, a couple of venues.
Where's the bad stuff? Is there any bad stuff with that?
Here's where I'm going with this is the concern I have is, are we going to be able to attract the businesses to populate the corridor?
The employers or the services?
All of the above.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of it, I think back to Greg's point, I always make this number up, but usually I say that 17 to 25% of my clients work out of the house. So you already have people who are staying in Crozet during the day. It's still a daytime, it's still a nighttime community in that the bulk of Crozet will leave to go somewhere for work. But I think that the challenge with bringing in businesses is a real one. I mean, you're not going to get thankfully a Target to come to downtown Crozet, but you will see people who see that it is a community that does have some needs. And I think that there's, to the point about the apartments, I think that people will recognize the need and they will find their way to Crozet. And I suspect that Frank Stoner has been having conversations with these businesses to put together a solution when he's ready to unveil it.
Well, we can start with Piedmont Place as an example, right? The newest building next to the library downtown.
It's a beautiful building.
Anchored by a new business, Smoked. Upstairs,
and the rooftop.
And the rooftop. So they're both brand new businesses. The only business in that building was the bookstore that moved across the street. The creamery is new. The bottle shop is new. And Morsel Compass came out of a food truck. So I think there are businesses, and I talk to people all the time that would like to have a small business or a medium business in Crozet and do that. The key is you got to have a product or a service that's a little bit bigger than the Crozet market itself.
Right.
Where is the line where the people in Ivy choose to go to Charlottesville, or you have something attractive enough to bring them to somewhere other than Dooners?
I love Dooners.
I love Dooners too.
Laura Fonner,
but
that's friend of this program.
That's where you eat, right?
Yeah,
if you want a quick dinner on a weeknight in Ivy. But Waynesboro's the same thing. Can we draw some of the traffic from Waynesboro over to Crozet?
Well, Waynesboro already includes us in their MSA. So they already factor in Crozet to the number of people who come from Crozet to go to their Target and their Super Walmart and the stuff that we have access to in Crozet, but we don't necessarily want in Crozet. But I think you look at the number of businesses that I hear from frequently who want space in downtown Crozet, and I think that there's certainly a market. If that space is there, I think the businesses will come.
The most common conversation I've had with clients recently is that office that's divided up into small offices that can be rented. What do we call this? They've tried it.
Co-working.
Co-working.
That's what I'm doing in the Macklin building.
There's
23 upstairs.
There are people that need to get out of their homes in Crozet, but they want to leave Crozet. That's an affordable place for them to rent and have an office.
Yeah.
There's none of that available.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a story on Real Crozet VA a couple months ago, seeking out people who wanted co-working space. Because a friend of mine is looking to do something like that in Crozet, and the response was significant. I mean, people who want to stay in Crozet, but they need a place to have a phone call that's not the space over their
It's just maintaining
garage.
like some work-home life balance. I mean, it's brutal, and that's literally what our business, and it's brutal, and we hear this all the time. We either hear the wife, I have to get away from the husband. The husband, I got to get away from the wife. The kids won't let me take a phone call. You know, the dog is barking.
Right.
I have to do the honey-do list when I'm at the house. I need a place that has a desk, a chair, internet, Wi-Fi, electric, that I can come in and close the door, get stuff done, and leave.
Right.
And I think it would crush it in Crozet.
So I think there's a significant market for it.
The diversity of types of jobs people have in that community,
And the
especially-
disposable income.
It's remarkable.
Well, I mean, you go to Mud House any day of the week. You know, probably 10 and 12 and 2 and 4, and it sounds like a library because everybody's in there on their laptops. You know, and so I mean, I think that you just look through the coffee shop, and I think there are a number of people who would want to pay more than a cup of coffee and spend some time in an office environment.
Wesley Amons, welcome to the show. Duck Maddox's Finest. Thank you for joining us, Wesley Amons. This portion of the program, thanks to First Heritage Mortgage. Mike Beatrick and his team, undoubtedly a go-to mortgage solution. First Heritage Mortgage. We got a question coming in. I'm going to throw it to both you guys. Nest Realty just shared the show. Thank you, Nest Realty, for doing that. Brian Combs. How do you fellas see 250 growing around I-64 and the Pro Renata Brewery location?
All right, kind of up to y'all, Brian.
Why do you say that?
Brian works at PRN.
Right.
Pro
Renata Brewery.
Yeah. I think that Pro Renata has been a remarkable asset to Crozet.
It's amazing.
It's a great place to be. Great beer.
I take my kid and my wife there because it's approachable, fun. We don't get judged. Kid can play outside in the playground. Parents can have a couple beers.
With my older kid, we didn't have the number of breweries and vineyards that we have now, where you can go and have a couple beers and not be judged by others for drinking with the kids around.
Right.
I think that Crozet, I think that it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the 250 corridor. In time, the lumberyard may become something else. But I think that the number of businesses that are coming, I think there's a rezoning for a property right near PRN that's coming up soon. Again, I think it's a destination. People choose to come out to Crozet and spend time at PRN. When we used to ride our bikes on Sunday mornings, for long distance, and they were phenomenal. They opened at 11 o'clock on Sundays, and they'd let us in at about 10:40, 10:45, just because they recognized that we, after 50 or 60 miles, we needed a beverage. But I think that you've seen the population grow, and the BP, is it BP?
Well, it's the Mulberry Market. Is that what we call it?
It's the new gas station.
The new gas station. I was going to say the new gas station and Pro Renata have really set the example of what's capable and what the demand is. I mean, if you think about where the other breweries are, they're in much more scenic locations, to be quite honest. But the convenience of that location, I never drive by there when the fire's not burning and there's people there, and whether it's the trivia or the bands, or there's something for everybody, whether you're into the beer or not.
I'll put it in perspective. We live in Redfields, southern Albemarle County. My wife and I and our 14-month-old son, we cannot get the brewery feel in the city of Charlottesville. We love the breweries, okay? Whether it's Champion or Three Notch we love, South Street we love, the new Wild Wolf we love, the Hardywood Tap Room we love on West Main, but those do not have the grass piece, and they're an urban environment. We drive from Albemarle County, get in our car, hop on the interstate to Crozet, to Pro Renata, to enjoy the pharmacy in the back?
Yep.
The pharmacy where we can put a blanket down, our son can play with his toys, we can just get out of the way and have a good time. We cannot find that in Charlottesville. We are driving to Crozet for that.
Fifth Street is not that far.
So close, 18 minutes.
When Dick's Sporting Goods hit Fifth Street, I told people I had no reason personally to go any further east than that ever again.
The Draft House is a game changer. As much as I love coming to downtown Crozet, and with Nest Realty, we're lucky we have our own parking, so parking's not a challenge downtown. So I don't have the need to go downtown when I want to go see a movie. I just hop on 64 from Crozet. And
you're talking Alamo?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Fifth Street Station? That place is amazing.
And they'll bring you beer.
Yeah.
Which is
dinner.
Not a bad thing. But no, I think that with PRN, though, jumping back on that, I mean, when they opened, through my lens, it was, why would I ever go sit next to 250 and drink a beer? And now it's, hey, let's go drink a beer and sit next to 250. It's a great environment, and they've done a lot of good stuff. And I think that there's still some land there that yet to be developed. That it's going to be interesting to see how they choose to frame that and what they choose to bring in.
We got some questions coming in. This is coming in from Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan, guys, I live in Old Trail. I watch the show regularly. Jerry, you guys do a great job. I am concerned about the road infrastructure if we're getting the type of population growth that Greg and Jim are saying. That's a fair question.
It's a fair question. I think what's starting to happen now a little bit, so Old Trail and Gray Rock and Wayland's Grant is what we refer to maybe as the Jarman's Gap corridor side of downtown. And I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with going on the other side of Crozet. Or, right now you have to take Tabor to go to Claudius Crozet Park, and then there's a few other communities back there. Mm-hmm. Well, it's completely landlocked. There's one way in and one way out. The road is done. I think as of today it's not officially open, but one of the first important connector roads of that side of the community will now allow people who live back there to go through Foothill Crossing and Western Ridge to get to 240. So hopefully that's going to alleviate traffic in the downtown area a little bit. Very important road. There is another very important road that's planned that we can't put a timeline on that I think really changes Crozet forever, and that's when you connect what's going on behind Crozet Park to 250 through Corey Farm, right by Harris Teeter. Because right now, if you think about it, Crozet is boundaried by 240 and 250. There's two places to get all the way across. Downtown, Crozet Avenue, right, which is actually 240 as well, or Old Trail Drive. Otherwise, you have to drive all the way around if you live on that side of the community. But the pieces of the puzzle are going in place, and if you drive back there, you might be surprised. The views in the Glenbrook, in the very back there, have Old Trail-like views. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I mean, I think I always go back to, I think more people choose to get out of their cars and ride their bikes and walk. And I think that's the number one thing they can do to alleviate traffic, is to choose to live a different lifestyle. But I think it's valid. I think that the commute from Crozet to Charlottesville has increased by 5 to 7 minutes over the last 10 years.
Traffic time?
Which is a significant issue. But it's also, all things being relative, it's not 45 minutes or an hour. We have, where Richmond, D.C., it's vastly different lifestyles. But I think the Eastern Avenue is on the if you're looking at it from the left side, the Western Ridge side, that's going to be a significant game changer for people who are coming from Charlottesville to go through and take the Eastern Avenue to their neighborhoods rather than come into the heart of Crozet. If they ever do finish the other side out to 250, that'll be a significant improvement as well. But I think it is, and I talk about this all the time on my blog about how the traffic in Crozet and the infrastructure is candidly, it's not being built with the commensurate growth that's coming. But I think that the county hopefully are recognizing that we need to do some different things with how we build roads, but not just focus on building roads for cars, but build roads for people. And I think that that's something that with Jarman's Gap, what Greg was saying, the number of people who, when that road changed from a scary 2-lane road to a beautiful road with bike lanes and sidewalks, it activated that street in a way that we'd never seen. So I think that people, they want to get out of their cars, and they just need the opportunity.
Well said. Well said.
One of the amenities of Crozet we haven't touched on, which is significant,
Are you going to say the Crozet Creamery?
The trails.
We got Keith Smith saying Crozet Creamery should be a sponsor of the show here.
He's an
Crozet Creamery is going to be paying us an ice cream.
He is an ice cream connoisseur. There is no doubt.
He also says he drives to the greenhouse from Charlottesville all the time to do work. I can't tell you how often we are driving to Crozet to spend family time with our son.
So I'm going to hit on two things. One,
Sure.
Greenhouse. I have to give them a little bit of love because the Crozet Cycling Club, we start every day at 6 and we end at 7 o'clock at Greenhouse every single morning. And they are phenomenal to us. And the food there is great. The coffee is the best price in Crozet, and the people are tremendous. But the Crozet trails are the number of my clients are on the Crozet trails. I think Terry is the head of the Crozet Trails crew now. It is an extremely underutilized and underappreciated asset to Crozet, because you can get from from Western Ridge, Foothill Crossing, all those neighborhoods on that side to downtown Crozet on just amazing trails that are maintained by volunteers who take that upon themselves.
Well, they have a website that shows all the maps. It's crozettrailscrew.org.
Yep.
It's significant. There's also a 5-kilometer track around Old Trail, right?
Yep.
The kids run the cross country there, but it's for the use of the residents and the community, because a lot of people don't realize this. The heart of Old Trail is an Albemarle County park. All that space in the floodplain between the pool and Lower Ballard, it's been given to the county, and it's theirs to use. So a lot of people, we talk about all the pedestrians in Old Trail. Not all those people live in Old Trail.
Right. So the Crozet Trails crew, I think June is going to be the month where if you go to Star Hill to drink beer, $1 of every pint will go to the Crozet Trails crew. So it's again, it's a way to give back. If you're not going to get on the trails, drink beer and give to the trails. But I think that the Lindy Bain, I think it's the Lindy Bain loop that the cross country uses. Again, I know a friend who runs, and he will drive from his house to Old Trail to run that loop. The trails, they're building a new trail system in Old Trail as well, on the right-hand side near Jarman's Gap. So you can get places in Crozet without getting into your car.
Something else to do with your family when you come.
I'm learning a lot. I also learned this. The largest employer in Crozet is Live Nation.
I think so.
Learned that from the fellas. The old ConAgra plant. Corn Capsule, believe purchased it again. So I believe Corn is the owner of Live Nation. How's that? Don't quote me on that. I know Corn's got his hands in that. Bellamy Brown, running for Charlottesville City Council, is watching the program. Keisler, who's the general manager of the Hardywood Tap Room on West Main, is tuning in right now as well. Give the show a like and a share anywhere you're watching. Hello, Chris Turner and Crozet. Thank you for joining us on the show. We would be remiss, Ray Jordan, welcome to the show. We would be remiss if we did not bring up your fantastic work with the Nassau Project. You're the chair. Put it in perspective what you're doing.
So we're talking about affordable housing.
Yeah.
One of the things I've cared about deeply in my career is being a part of that conversation. As a real estate professional, I have services I can give and knowledge about what's going on that can be helpful, I think. But I serve as the chair of an organization called the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust. We were the first of its kind in Virginia. There are two now. One just opened in Richmond. We've been around for 10 years, and what we're trying to do is create permanently affordable inventory of homes in Charlottesville. And how we do that is we use our assets to own the land, and then we sell homes, or we sell the home with a 90-year leasehold interest, right? So imagine a $200,000 home on a $50,000 lot just became $150,000. And the reason we do this is we want to keep it affordable in the future. A lot of resources over the years through county programs has caused the construction of profit affordable housing, homes that are artificially lowered in value to pave the way for other communities. But these homes, I've sold many of them, and what happens is somebody buys them once, and then after that they can do whatever they want with them, and all the resources that went into creating that home are gone. Under our model, because we control the land, the owners, when they're done with it, now they can own it 90 years. That's how long you can have a leasehold interest, something in Virginia. You can pass it to your heirs, but it's home ownership. The land's excluded. So when they come back to us, though, we will recalculate the value based on an appreciation sharing program. We're going to keep the home affordable again by restricting the income to those who can buy it. We like to serve the 80% of median area income market. And then we're going to sell to somebody else under those limits. So it's affordable. It actually, the way we do it, makes it more affordable in relationship to the market over time. So Nassau Street, so we got a grant last year from the city for $240,000, and we were able to go out and buy 4 lots on Nassau Street, and then we were able to develop them out of the floodplain, and we partnered with a builder, one of the builders of Old Trail, as a matter of fact, a small private custom builder, Bramante Homes, stepped up and said, guys, I will build these homes for you at my cost plus a modest overhead. And so we have 4 1,500 square feet townhomes that are now under the roof. We're actually in the process of trying to find buyers. A bunch of other partners have stepped up along the way to help us with this. These homes are going to be energy efficient. We're going to have HERS ratings and Pearl certifications. But something special happened along the way. There's actually an organization in town that likes to give money towards residential energy efficiency. So I worked with the folks at Segura Solar, and they agreed to price out 4 solar panel systems for these homes at their cost. And then I made an application for a grant with this organization, and we won it. So these 4 homes will not only be energy efficient, they'll be solar powered. So we have 4 homes, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. They're $215,000 on Nassau Street. So if anybody's interested in more of that opportunity or think that might work for them, the place to go is TJCLT.org, and you'll find more information. And there's a process there. We have about 10 candidates in the process now that are interested in owning those homes, and we're super excited about it.
Dr. Scott Wagner, welcome to the program. Scott Wagner, chiropractic, good friend of the show. Caitlin Mancini's watching. Jessica Russo back in the house. Vo and Bobby Montgomery in the house. A number of agents watching right now.
A lot of nesters.
A lot of nesters watching right now. John Updike says hello. Andrew Evans says hello. Throw this to you here, and this is for you. Tell Jim Fox Chase just finished all their internal trails. That's from David Gregory Mitchell.
Yep.
Seems like Jim is all over that. I want to give a plug for what you're doing on Twitter, and let's please turn the sizzle reel into the Nassau Project. My question to Greg, and Greg's answer all the way through. That's very valuable information. Thank you, Harris. Plug your websites. You're killing it. I follow you closely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy. No, but I think no,
I do.
I mean, I've written Real Central VA for 15 years, 16 years now. I've written Real Crozet VA for 14, 15 now. I've got the Real Crozet Twitter and Jim Duncan Twitter. But the Real Crozet one, I mean, Real Central has sort of shifted over the years to being as much of a updated, every couple of days to a resource that I use for my clients. And I write a monthly note every month, jimsnote.com, if you will. And that's gotten a significant readership. But the Real Crozet is something that I started 14, 15 years ago as a means by which to communicate to Crozet. There was a website that a friend of mine, Waldo Jakewith, started years ago, SeavilleNews.com. And I wanted
Love Seville News.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I wanted to replicate that for Crozet, because we were starting the process of how the community is going to grow and what's going to happen, and we needed a resource. And it was something that it's become a hub of community information. And so people, they go to the Real Crozet site with some frequency. It's where we talk about growth, politics, what's happening. I think I put a story up today about the Eastern Avenue is now open. But it's something that I started that many years ago for the community. It's something that for many years I had a local web host would donate the hosting because they saw that as a resource. So it's something that Crozet, for better or worse, depends on in a lot of ways, which is it's humbling that so many people go to it. But it's a fun little resource for Crozet.
I love it's like a passion project.
I'd say so. I mean,
yeah.
And there are some days where it feels more of an obligation project, but it's something. It's a news source for Crozet to learn about growth and development. Sometimes I'll have a story about. I have a CrozetCalendar.com where people can put their the creamery's done stuff on the calendar. Trails Crew does stuff there. I mean, people will put their events there, and it's become a resource for that as well to learn what's happening. So again, Real Crozet has been something that I'm tremendously happy that I started, and I'm glad that it's carried on for so long.
Let's make sure you give that a sizzle reel for Jim. That'll be the last one. Fellas, you killed it. Getting a lot of props from the feed here. Hour in. It's felt like 10 minutes. Keith Smith said you very well represented the land trust.
Thank you, Keith. He's a huge part of making that project happen. There's no doubt about it.
He says the show has been thoroughly entertaining. We should definitely do this again. I love the knowledge here. Dot the I's, cross the T's. Final words for both of you. Anything on the brain?
Come out and see us in Crozet sometime.
Yeah? Jim Duncan?
Crozet is a great place to live.
Crozet is a great place to live. We will send the content to the gentleman. We will feature it on iloveseville.com, the show in its totality. We will syndicate the sizzle reels across the network. It's a good program today, and I thoroughly enjoy catching up with people that are very intelligent because I learn from them, and I'm very impressed with how Crozet's evolving and developing since I've been here. And I came here in 2000 as a first year at the University of Virginia, and then quickly fell in love with Charlottesville, fell in love with the wrong girl, now with the right girl. She's watching right now.
Gotta get that in there.
You're the right one.
That's a sizzle reel.
That's a sizzle reel.
That's a reel of some
You're
sort.
funny. You're funny. We will be back at 12:30, guys, with Dropping Julia, live music on Music Friday on the I Love Seville Network. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy your morning. Good work, fellas. It was easy.
That was easy.
Easy. Good work.
Appreciate it.
Good work. One last thing. We're going to get the photo, what we call the hero picture. We stand right here. This is what everyone's going to see. Judah, you already ready to rock and roll? Slater is